Downton Abbey watchers know that this season opened with the question of whether Diva Nellie Melba, played by real-life opera star Kiri Te Kanawa, could sit down to dinner with the aristocratic Crawleys. That she did reflects the relaxation during the Edwardian period of the strong social stigma against mixing with performers. It's so hard today to understand this because our singers are welcomed everywhere, and contemporary singers are professionals trained in performing arts high schools and colleges and grad programs. But even as late as the mid-20th century, to be a woman performer was by definition to be a social outcast. The roots of this begin hundreds of years ago when religion condemned performers as immoral, and no one from the middle class would ever risk the social ostracism that would result from marrying one. It set up a situation that became like a ghetto or slavery. It was your fate. You were born into it. Your parents were singers. You were a singer. You literally could not escape it. Singing was a talent handed down through families. Parents assessed their children with a calculating eye to see what the chance for success might be. And they started kids singing very young to support the family. Singing wasn't about an individual's self-expression or finding yourself as an artist. It was a basic level of human existence. To sing was to eat, to scratch out a living in an inhospitable world. Women singers were doubly disadvantaged. Their sex had no legal right to the money they earned. It belonged to their fathers and then their husbands. They couldn't own property or divorce an abusive spouse. All of these factors combined to create a situation where men cruised theaters to find mistresses, but never, ever a wife. They could idolize a singer and call her a goddess, but systematically disrespect the flesh and blood woman. Henrietta Sontag was rich, famous, beautiful. She secretly married an impoverished count and diplomat. In every way except her parentage and profession, she was a far better catch than he. Yet a scandal ensued when her marriage was revealed, and only a patent of nobility in exchange for her promise to give up her career calmed the public outcry. Maria Malibran, a soprano who drove audiences to delirium, still had to contend when she sang in private homes with the silken cord that separated polite society from performers. Swedish nightingale Jenny Lind retired from the opera stage as soon as possible because she believed it was immoral. The legendary jewelry collection of Lena Cavalieri was said to be started by the Tsar of Russia, who nullified her secret marriage to a prince and bought her off with a fortune in diamonds. Russia's take on women performers is particularly complicated. 17th and 18th century Russian theater was serf theater, and dancers, musicians, and singers all were slaves to the noble family. Praskovia was a serf trained by a count determined to have the greatest opera company in all of Europe. He gave her freedom when she was 28 and married her 3 years later, defying every social rule in the book and utterly ostracized for the remainder of his life. Slavery had its impact on African American operatic singers as well. Elizabeth Greenfield, Marie Salika Williams, and Ciceretta Jones were all former slaves or children of slaves. They suffered under the triple disadvantage of being women, performers, and black, which was especially onerous in America, where they were systematically shunted to the side. Less so in Europe, where their talent was recognized and they were treated not primarily as blacks, but as women artists. And lest you think all of my story is hopelessly old news, when America's sweetheart, Shirley Temple, married Mr. Black in 1950, he was immediately dropped from the San Francisco Social Register for marrying an actress. I hope all of these stories explain what Melba was up against and how today's divas are indebted to the great singers of the past. I invite you to learn more in A Diva's Dozen and watch for a whole new deck in December 2014.